Alright, so I'm going to show you how to install a neckband on a knit dress. And we're working with Christine Haynes patterns. This is the Marianne dress, and it's a really great beginner project for working with knits, kind of once you've got the hang of it. This is great. You can see it's just one piece for the front and one piece for the back. It's got some variations where you can put like a block of color across the shoulders, but we're just working with the most basic dress with the neckband here. So she's got really great illustrations that show you step by step. And right here, we've got, you can see she has the neckline marked out, and she has it marked into quarters with pins marking the center here and then the center on either side of that. Well, for beginners, I've just taken that one step further, and I have it marked in eighths. So you can see right here, I did the center here and here, and then I took and put those pins together and found the center here. And then once I found the 4 points like Christine had in the book, I went ahead and put those points together and found the eighths. So the circle is all marked into 8 sections. I did the same thing with the neckband. First, I marked it in fourths, and then you can see I went back in and put those marks together and marked at the eighth as well. So what we'll do here is I'm going to take the spot where the seam is, and I'm going to match it up with the center back, and I'm going to match up cut edges together, and I'll just remove these pins as I go. I'm going to match up the pins and pin the neckband to the neck opening. So you're going to see that the neck band is just a little bit smaller than the neck opening, and it's supposed to be that way. And it's going to pull the whole neck in a little bit, and this band's also going to flip up. So to do that, the neck band is just a little bit smaller than the neck opening, and as we go, we're going to stretch the fabric of the neck opening to meet the neckband. So here we'll continue just with matching up each of the pins. As we go around, I'm just going to remove the pins here and replace them. As I go, I'm just making sure to match up those cut edges just as close as I can get them. Remember, the cut edges of your knit fabric are going to roll up a little bit, so I'm also kind of laying them down and making sure that everything is unrolled as I pin it. Alright, so we've got the neckband pinned into place, and now we're going to take it to the machine. Alright, so I'm going to slide my fabric in here and find the place that I want to start. I usually like to start either at a side seam or maybe like at the center back here at the seam that's on the neckband. And even before I get going, I want to have everything set out just as flat and as smooth as I can. We're going to use about a 3/8 inch seam allowance. If I'm correct, let me refer to the directions. No, it's 1/4 inch. So we want to have the needle about 1/4 inch from the edge of the fabric, and this looks good. And here for this first one, you can see here that the neck opening itself, there it is, bigger than the neckband. We're going to stretch the neckband until the two of them meet up, and then I'm just going to rest my fingers on it gently. I can go ahead and remove the pin here. And I'll start. And it's just a gentle stretch, just letting the neckband meet up to the size of the neck opening. And you can see this this stretch stitch that I'm using it's a straight stretch stitch that goes back and forth as we go. So it takes just a little bit longer because you've got some back and forth action there, but this is a nice stitch to use that gives you a smooth edge once your seam opens up and flips around. Okay, so here, I'm just about to reach this first pin. I'm gonna stop, and you'll see that each time I sew, I'm basically just breaking up the whole neckline into sections. And as I come up right here, I'm gonna come over the shoulder seam, and we do wanna make sure that the shoulder seam is flipped towards the back of the garment, and it might be easier to do that before we get it in the machine, but we can stop real easily and put it right there. So here I've just added another pin so that I can have that shoulder seam sewn down the way that I'd like it to be. I'm just going to check underneath. I can see that my fabric's rolling a little bit, so I'm just going to take a second and get that smoothed out. I've got my needle through the fabric, so while I'm pulling on it, I know that the needle is holding my place right there, and that's important as you're stretching in between these pins. You see I'm kind of using all of my fingers to help to hold everything out smooth the way that I like it to be. And here as I come up on the pin, I'm just going to go slow and get as close as I can, and then I'm going to use this hand wheel just to sneak a few stitches in here all the way up over that pin, because we really want that shoulder seam to get sewn towards the back of the garment. Next pin. I think at this point we can probably take the bulk of the dress and put it towards the back. And I might just pivot it a tiny bit, lay this out nice and smooth so I can see everything, making sure that the edges of the fabric are still lined up in between my pins. And this is looking good, so I'm going to go ahead and go. Speed up just a little bit now that we got it going. A little bit of a pucker right here, so I want to check and see that that's all smooth. And if you find that anything, if you get to a spot, it might be like this, we might be on like the sharpest part of the curve right here, and I just noticed that this right here is causing me a little bit of problem. I didn't see that when we got started, so I'm going to keep my pin right here in place and just straighten this up a little bit. The knit likes to pucker up like that, and you know it's really clingy. So we'll separate it and smooth it out. All right, this is almost there. There's a little bit of something underneath there. Feel it and check it. There we go. Look it up and smooth that in. Take your time with it. Make sure it looks good. Okay, I'm happy with that now. I'm going to go. I think that I can see right here that I might even like to add another pin in here. So now that I have this stretched out to meet nice and smooth, I'm going to put a pin right in here. I like that. I'm going to pivot just a little bit right here. Make sure everything's good. Go ahead and move that through right there. Get this set up here. I'm here at another shoulder seam. This time though, it's gonna go the way that the feed dogs and the presser foot are naturally gonna push it down anyway. so I don't need to be quite as concerned about getting a pin in there to flip it in the other direction. I do see though that the curve right here at the shoulder seam is kind of sharp, so I'm going to go ahead and stick a pin in there right there. Okay. Oh, anybody notice that when I stuck that pin in there, it was flipped up a little bit? There we go. All right. We're almost there. One last stretch here and just checking all those rolled edges. I think that the bobbin is getting a little bit low on thread. I can see it through the window right there. I think that's what the noise is. Just like real life, folks. A little problem with the machine. I'm going to stop and check it, and then we'll come back and finish. Actually, you know what? This is a really good thing for you to see. As I always say in class, it's a good thing when we run into trouble, because this is going to happen to you when you're sewing. It looks like something happened with the bobbin thread. Yeah, see how both ends of the bobbin thread got pulled up? So that first part of the bobbin thread that's usually held underneath all the rest of it, it looks like it came loose and it got caught up with the rest of it. So we'll just remove this right here. I think we kind of got lucky because there are trouble spots that you can run into working with knits. One of the worst is that the needle will sometimes push the fabric down in through the little needle hole. But this one here, just a little bit of a trip up with the bobbin, and I'm going to replace that, and then we'll finish this up. Okay, now I noticed that when we started to have a problem right there, the stitches got a little bit different right here. They kind of had a funny little bump right there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to smooth past the inside of that. It looks like I've got enough room, and luckily it kind of came towards the cut edge of the fabric. So I think we're going to be able to just slip right past this and fix up that little bump. Whenever I go back to pick up a stitch like this where you had to stop and you got to go back and get it again, I like to go back at least maybe like a ½ inch, and then we would be back stitching, but on this number 2 stretch stitch, when you hit the back stitch button, it's only going to stitch in place. So we did that just to tack it down right there, and then here we're going to pick it up again, and this right here is where I'm going to try to just slide just inside of that little problem kind of tangle that we had there. And then here, coming in for the very end of it, I'd like to see my needle come in right on top of the beginning stitches. And then here again, a tacking stitch to hold that in place. All right, we'll remove it gently. I don't want to pull too hard on those threads right there. I want to make sure that the thread's flowing well before I go and tug at everything. I've got some threads right here, and then I'm going to have the threads from where we picked up the stitch right there. Okay, so a little bit of iron, a little bit of steam on this, and there's our neckband. You can come in now and you can flip down this edge and you can actually do another top stitch on top of this here to make it look really nice and professional. But you see how that the neckband being just a little bit smaller than the neck opening causes it to flip up and lay down like that. Thanks so much.